Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Chaos and Mayhem written by Lord Henry 7878. There is a link to the playlist in the doobly-doo. Chaos and Mayhem, a sexy space babes story part 38. Wait, let me get this straight, I said, looking at the wreckage. You're trying to figure out who's behind the whole purity control thing? Sashin nodded, reading through more of the memos. I face-palmed. I could have told you that. It's the Baron. Baron Stamatios. We didn't need to crash a train. Awesome as it was. It seriously was awesome. Well, Sashin shrugged. Yeah. But we have evidence he wasn't acting alone. Of course. That was news to me. Yeah, I knew that. It's looking like Darach sat on a smashed weapons case and kept scrolling. No names, but we have references to businesses. Whoa. Big businesses. Very big businesses. How big? Gore craned his neck to take a look. How does Kimana manufacturing sound? Sawn arms. And of course tons of people in the Stamatios Corporation. Stamatios Corporation, I pinched the bridge of my nose. They make medical equipment, right? Not just, Gore said. If it's used in hospitals, doctors' offices, pharmacies, light, you walk into a refueling station and buy a pack of adhesive bandages, the Stamatios Corporation made them. They got their own private army, interior agents in their pocket, even had laws changed to benefit them. Right. So what do we do? Well, Sashin scratched the back of her head. Once we get this information back to Alliance Space, they could always infiltrate these companies. She shrugged. Okay, but right now, I heard a noise in the distance. A kind of whining sound. Troop transports. And the sound of Marines walking through the woods, too. We make ourselves scarce. Gore snapped. We ran for it as the sound of shrill voices got louder. Their talking turned into shouts as we scattered. Okay, the great thing was that Shilvati's stamina was shit. After 20 minutes they were still not able to catch us. Of course that meant chasing turned into shooting. I ducked as I heard the sound of ionizing air. It smelled like ozone. I jumped over a log and crawled beneath. This big chunk of tree was bent enough I could crawl right up and sight my rifle. I fired and... Holy shit, that was some kick. I'd forgotten just how powerful these big bullets were. The recoil slid me back an inch or two. One of the Marines, though, her legs shot out from beneath her and she fell to the ground, minus a leg. I fired again, shattering her buddy's helmet and sending pieces of visor rocketing out the back of her head. A third shot left a Marine clutching a hole in her stomach as the enormous bullet entered her. They knew where I was. I scrammed, tossing a stick of dynamite at my pursuers. 3 more gone. I hadn't run fast enough though, more were on me. I spun around, jabbing the rifle into another's sternum and fired. She went down as I tackled another Marine, sending her to the ground. Before the Marine could get up, I slammed my foot down on her chest, holding her down as I fired into her face. Unfortunately, another Marine picked me up and swung me against a tree. I felt something crack before everything went black.
In Darby'sburg, a transport full of Marines and an interior agent pulled up outside a house.
Okay, remind me why we're filming this. Sergeant Myolanta demanded. She had serious misgivings about this whole operation. If the Imperium was backing assassinations by the interior, what was stopping them from just wiping out everybody who stunk of trouble? This woman is the mother of Thomas Steinberg, Agent Dagda recited for the nth time. You know, the one who assassinated the old Baroness? Anyways, the Interior and the Baron hope that if they can break his spirit they can bring him in. It just so helps that the mother is the one who hacked up those Interior agents with a chainsaw, so it's not like this came out of nowhere. Of course, Myolanta muttered grimly. It's a revenge killing with extra steps. She hated the Interior with a passion, ever since that operation. Half of her wanted to execute the agent right here for war crimes right now. But her hands were tied. If the Interior was doing assassinations, what would stop them killing her family if she did such a thing? She sighed and switched on her helmet cam. Now you're getting it, sweetie. Agent Dagda powered on her own rifle, and she and the Marines piled out of the transport. They fanned out and surrounded the house. Myolanta's squad took the basement door while the others stacked up behind the front door. Myolanta just hoped this Steinberg lady just wasn't there.
Myolanta was half right, Barbara wasn't there.
Soon as one of the neighbors had called her, warning about the transport full of Marines heading up the street. Luckily, Barb had planned for such a contingency. She was currently sitting in the hills out back with a rifle, a hatchet, and a number queued up on her phone. Soon as the Marines went inside, she dialed it. Nothing happened. Nothing would for a few minutes. She had friends in the resistance. They would be a few. In the meantime, she was gonna get to work. She fired. Tom had left this .700 nitro rifle here last time he came by, so she'd sourced ammo. One of the shield turned inside out. Barb fired again, through her bedroom window, sending a perp sailing across the room. Reload, stand up, change position. The Marines knew exactly where she was now. Once Barbara got to her new position, she fired again, popping ahead and sending the top of the unfortunate shill's cranium rocketing a foot into the air. It was then she heard gunfire. The cavalry had arrived. While the shill out front were busy with them, Barb snuck to her back porch. The shill out there went for her gun, but Barbara grasped her rifle like a baseball bat and swung the stock into another's jaw. Oh geez, it lodged in there. The perp dropped to her knees and fell to her side, the rifle still lodged in her shattered jaw. Barb yanked the gun out and shook the bright blue blood off. She picked up her hatchet and went inside. Okay, this place had a drop ceiling. She and Uncle Bill had set it up a few months before she went to prison. Barb climbed up on a table and pulled herself up into the ceiling. All the better not to be seen, especially by the sources of those voices in the kitchen. She crawled over the wall, and immediately fell through the ceiling into the kitchen, landing on one of the Marines. The shill was strong, but nobody could survive 120-pound anything landing on you. The Marine actually bent over backwards enough to snap her back, Final Destination style, as Barbara landed on her. Barb immediately threw her axe, embedding the blade in the other Marine in there. She wrenched the hatchet out of the Marine and hid behind the wall as another Marine crept by. Barbara swung the axe, embedding it in the Marine's shoulder, pulling her to the floor before wrenching it out and swinging it into the Marine's chest, right between her tits. That was when she felt it. The gun against the back of her head. Congratulations, Barbara said coldly. She slowly stood up. You got me. Funny, the Marine behind her said. I don't feel like this is an accomplishment I should be proud of. Barb knew exactly what she meant. You don't want to be here, do you? Your hands are shaking. I think you're a good person. A good person who's been through something nasty, and now you're here, and you hate what you're about to do. The Marine took the weapon off Barb's skull. I'm going to turn around. You call off your girls, and we'll talk. Behind her, she could hear the Marine doing just that. Barb turned around. What's your name, girl? Myolanta. Annie Myolanta. Mind if I call you Annie? Tell your story. Barbara sat down in the ruined kitchen and beckoned for Myolanta to do the same. The enormous, grizzled Marine did just that. "I guess I start at the beginning," Myolanta said. "I grew up on a world called Scaven. The most backwater of all the backwater shitholes on the periphery. We raised Turoxes and ate the same garbage we fed them. I had a brother, Luhi. Same mother and everything. We loved the shit out of each other. Then one day a group of Pisrian separatists took over the colony. They rounded up the men and boys and sold them to the consortium. The women, they put to work in the fields growing spiceweed. Old people, kids too young to work, they killed for fertilizer." Barbara poured 2 cups of coffee. "Anyways, what do you do when your world falls apart?" "I certainly couldn't do anything. Nobody could. Then one day, a detachment of Marines landed, took back the town a week later. After that, I knew I wanted to be a Marine. I wanted to save people like they did. You know, I guess I still have this fantasy where I go to the consortium and save my baby brother. I doubt he'd remember me though." Myolanta sighed. "I'm sensing a but. There always is. My first assignment was this planet, you believe that?" Myolanta laughed humorlessly. About a year after the liberation, she told Barbara exactly what had happened in the past year. "Oh God, you poor creature," Barbara observed. "How about I tell you a story? I was in prison when the Shilvati came. Got locked up for kicking the shit out of a man who wouldn't stop molesting my niece." Barbara noted the look on Myolanta's face. She had to remember it was like a man saying he beat a girl for sleeping with some guy. Gender was weird. "Oh, she's probably dead now, joined the army a year before you came. Anyways, one day, the lights go out. The next, the guards are huge and purple. Nobody has any clue what happened. Anyways, after I get out, I go back home, but since I have a reputation as an ex-con, well, the interior marks me as dangerous." Barbara made air quotes. "So now when anything happens, I'm the first they suspect. Sometimes they try to bait me into illegal shit. So eventually my son gets in some trouble too, you know what, and they abduct my brother and nephew to try to get to him." Myolanta's eyes were wide. "Anyways, I figure I might as well do the thing they are already punishing me for, so when I find out from my son, I go to the first interior place I can find. It's the old community center in Glenelg, and hack them to pieces with a chainsaw." Barbara took a sip. "You seeing what I'm getting at?" Barbara took another sip. "The Imperium keeps operating like they do, they are only going to keep manufacturing new enemies. And that's a lesson you seem to have learned, albeit in a very roundabout way." "Myolanta! Duck!" yelled a voice. Myolanta jumped in surprise, and a shot slammed into Barbara's throat, blowing a hole through it. Her coffee cup fell to the floor as Agent Dagda walked into the kitchen. "Good job, Sergeant." Dagda poked one of the bodies on the floor with her foot. "Obviously force didn't work, so you lulled her into a false sense of security. Clever." Myolanta shuddered. That wasn't what had happened at all. She nodded. "Why yes Tried thinking like a human." She could feel the bile rising in her throat. "Oh goddess!" Sergeant Myolanta ran to the sink just in time to fill it with the remains of her breakfast. End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode, and do all the other YouTube stuff. Visit and support the author, all the relevant links are in the doobly-doo, and comment your opinions, good or bad. And I'll see you next time. And as usual, have a wonderful day.